Today's story will be of the little tin soldier. Once there was a little boy who was given a box for his birthday. He took the lid off carefully and clapped his hands. "Tin soldiers," he cried with joy. He set them out one by one on the table. Each one had a musket at his shoulder, and they all looked very smart indeed. The last one was just as smart, but he had only one leg. Maybe there was not quite enough tin left when he was made. And this story is about him. On the table there was also a pretty cardboard castle. It had a tiny lake in front of it, made from a mirror, and swans floated on the lake. But the prettiest thing of all was a little paper girl who stood on one leg like a dancer. She wore a silk dress, and in her hair was a shiny tinsel rose. Now she would be just the wife for me, thought the little tin soldier with one leg. But I live in a box with all the other soldiers, and that is no place for her. Just the same, I would like to know her better. So he stood behind a silver snuff box and gazed at the little paper dancer. When evening came, all the other soldiers were put back into their box, and the humans went to bed. Now was the time for the toys to play. The nutcrackers danced, a pencil played at drawing, and the toy canaries sang a song. The only two who did not move were the tin soldier and the little dancer. She stood still on her pointed toes, and he never took his eyes off her. At midnight, snap, the snuff box opened and a goblin popped out. "Soldier," he said, "keep your eyes to yourself." But the tin soldier pretended not to hear. "Just wait until the morning," growled the goblin. Next morning, the tin soldier was put on the windowsill. Suddenly, the window flew open. Maybe it was the wind, or maybe it was the goblin, but the tin soldier fell far into the street below. The little boy rushed down to look for him, but it was raining and he could not see. The tin soldier just stood there, upside down, with his musket still at his shoulder. When the rain stopped, two boys found him. They made a paper boat and sent the soldier sailing down the gutter. He was afraid, but he stood in the middle of the boat, as firmly as ever. Suddenly, the water flowed into a dark drain. The tin soldier wished that he had the little dancer by his side, but he was all alone. "I must be brave, whatever happens to me," he thought. A big water rat rushed out. "Where's your passport?" he demanded. "You must pay the toll." But the boat sailed on, with the tin soldier standing firm in the middle. The water rat chased after him. "Stop!" he yelled. "Stop him! He hasn't paid the toll." But the boat darted away on the rushing water. It flowed out of the drain and poured into the canal like a mighty waterfall. The boat spun round and round. The tin soldier thought about the dancer and stood more firmly than ever. The boat filled with water and sank deeper and deeper. Then it tore apart. As the water flowed over his head, the tin soldier thought he would never see the pretty little dancer again. At that very moment, he was swallowed up by a large fish. Splash. The fish was then caught and sold at the market. It was taken home and the cook prepared it for dinner. The tin soldier was lifted out of the fish and taken up to the nursery. He still stood firm with his musket at his shoulder. Wonders of wonders! He was in the very same room he had been in before. There was the castle and the lake and the little dancer standing on her toe. They looked at each other without saying a word. And then a very strange thing happened. The little boy picked up the tin soldier and threw him into the fire. He did not say why. Maybe it was the goblin who made him do it. Almost at the same time, a door opened and the wind blew the little paper dancer straight to the tin soldier in the fire. Together they burned into one flame and were gone. Next morning, all that was found of the soldier was a little lump of tin in the shape of a heart, and all that was found of the dancer was her tinsel rose, now as black as coal. The end.